The more you study, the more anxious you feel. Have you ever experienced that? Maybe it happened when you started studying for a certification, or when you devoured books to prepare for a promotion, or when you spent hours searching online for the right way to raise your children. As your knowledge grew, so did the quiet voice saying, "I'm still not enough." Or perhaps you felt something like this, being the type of person who thinks more than others, and somehow finding that exhausting. Why does that person seem so at ease with themselves? I think about everything, so why do I still feel so empty? Those questions circle in your mind on certain nights, going nowhere. The story I want to share with you today is about a man who lived with that same ache 2,500 years ago. He was considered the most intellectually gifted of all the Buddha's disciples. His understanding of the teachings was unmatched. People came from far away just to hear him speak. And yet for a long time he carried a quiet suffering inside him. His brilliance was the very thing that made him hurt. Let me tell you his story, slowly and gently. One day he realized that all his knowledge had become a wall between him and the thing he was actually seeking. He had memorized every teaching, analyzed every concept, built an entire fortress of understanding, and in doing so, had forgotten how to simply sit with not knowing. It was only when he stopped trying to think his way to peace that peace finally arrived, not as an answer to his questions, but as a quiet dissolving of the questions themselves. Among the Buddha's disciples, there was a man known for one thing above all else, the sharpness of his mind. The Buddha himself once said of him, "Among all my disciples, none can match him in wisdom." Just to give you a sense of how extraordinary he was, when the Buddha finished delivering a complex teaching, the other disciples were still piecing it together in their heads. This man had already grasped the whole picture and was quietly explaining it to the others in plain, clear language. His understanding was fast. His logic was precise. He had an answer for almost any question. Everyone held him in the highest regard. And yet, one day he came to the Buddha and said something that took quiet courage to say. "Teacher, I believe I have understood your teachings more deeply than most, but my heart still trembles. Anger has not fully left me. Pride surfaces when I least expect it. I know these things, and still I cannot seem to stop them. How is this possible?" It was a calm question, but the depth behind it was immense. The Buddha looked at him for a long moment in silence. Then gently he replied, "You have seen clearly. Understanding something with your mind and experiencing it with your whole being, these are two different things. A map of the river, no matter how detailed, cannot tell you how cold the water feels. What you need is not more knowledge. What you need is experience." The disciple could not speak for a while after hearing those words. "I know, and yet I did not do it." For the first time, the shape of his suffering had a name. The Buddha continued, "A sharp mind, like a sharp blade, can wound its own holder. Knowledge is only a beginning. Now let what you know seep quietly into the way you live, day after day, without rushing, without forcing. Do not hurry, do not strain. Understanding travels slowly, the way still water wears away stone, gradually, and all the way through." From that day, something shifted in him. He stopped chasing new understanding. Instead, he began the quieter work, simply living the teachings, one ordinary day at a time. Let's return to what the Buddha said. Understanding something with your mind and experiencing it with your whole being, these are two different things. This touches on one of Buddhism's most essential ideas about how we truly learn. There is an ancient concept sometimes called the 3 stages of learning. First, hearing. You encounter a teaching, you receive it, you understand it intellectually. Second, reflecting. You turn it over in your mind, you wrestle with it, you make it your own through thought. Third, practicing. You carry it into your actual life, again and again, in small, ordinary moments. This disciple's knowledge and reflection were flawless, but the third part, the living of it, was where the gap remained. Between knowing and being, there was a wide river still to cross. And isn't that true for us as well? We know that gratitude matters, but do we express it to the people around us each morning? We know we shouldn't let anger pour out onto others, but in the heat of a moment, the words come before the awareness. We know that comparing ourselves to others only brings pain, but we open our phones, and there we are, measuring again. Knowing and not doing, This is one of the most honest things about being human. And here's something important to hold on to. The Buddha did not scold his disciple. He did not ask, "Why haven't you done better?" He said, "Do not hurry, do not strain, let it seep into you, slowly the way still water wears away stone." There is a beautiful word in Buddhist teaching. It points to the way that fragrance from incense gradually, invisibly, saturates the cloth around it. You don't see it happening, but over time, the cloth carries the scent as if it was always there. That is how real change works. Not in a single determined effort, not in a breakthrough moment. A little today, a little tomorrow, layered, gently, over time, until one day, it is simply part of how you live. This disciple eventually reached a deep and settled peace, not because he learned more, but because he chose quietly to stop performing knowledge and start inhabiting it. Let's bring this closer to where we actually live. We are alive in a time when knowing has never been easier. Open your phone, and within seconds, you have access to advice on health, relationships, money, parenting, sleep, mindfulness, productivity. More guidance than any person in history could have gathered in a lifetime. And yet, precisely because of this, something painful has developed. The more we know, the more sharply we can see the distance between who we are and who we think we should be. That gap becomes the source of a quiet shame. I know this method. I'm just not doing it. What's wrong with me? So we search for another approach, read another article, watch another video, and the cycle continues. More knowledge, more awareness of how far we fall short, more exhaustion. Are you tired of that loop? This is exactly where the story of this brilliant disciple becomes a light. What changed things for him was not learning something new. It was hearing one sentence: "You need experience, not more knowledge," and then turning his attention toward the small, specific moments of daily life. Let me make that concrete. Say you know that kindness matters. Rather than holding that as a lofty principle, try this. Today, say one specific thing to one specific person. "That really helped me, thank you." Or "That meal was delicious." One sentence, real, small, now. Or say you've analyzed a mistake at work. You understand exactly what went wrong, you have a plan, and then you make the same mistake again. The frustration of that is real. What this ancient story teaches us is that "I understand it" is not the finish line. It is the starting point. From the day you understand something, you begin a slow, patient walk, practicing it in small ways, in ordinary moments, many times. And somewhere along the way, without quite noticing when, it stops being something you do and becomes something you simply are. You don't have to rush. You don't have to change everything at once. The knowledge is already in your hands. What remains is just this: one small, honest step today. Just one thing to carry with you today. "I know, but I can't do it." That is not a sign that something is wrong with you. The man the Buddha himself called his wisest disciple carried that same ache. For years. Knowing and living are different things. The distance between them is not a measure of your worth. It is simply the path that every human being walks, at their own pace, in their own time. Today, just one thing. Take something you already know, and let it become a single small action. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be big. Just a little. Just today. That one quiet step will begin to settle into you, the way incense smoke finds its way into cloth, slowly, gently, without you even noticing. Thank you, truly, for spending this time here. The fact that this story found you today, I believe that means something. Please be gentle with yourself. No rushing, no straining. Just this one day lived a little more tenderly. And when tomorrow comes, you may find that the cloth has held something. Not because you forced it, but because you showed up.